Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. I wanted to do a quick update video on the CVF Racing pulleys and brackets. For those of you guys that are thinking about buying these things, no, CVF Racing didn't give them to me for free. I wish they did. And they're not paying me to talk about them or anything like that. I just wanted to give you my experience with these as I'm putting them back together again. You guys have already seen this engine run with them on, but I figured I'd kind of go over some of the pros and cons that I think about them and kind of what's involved to get them on here. So this is their complete kit. This basically has everything you need to make sure you never have to use any of the old bracketry or the ugly old stamped steel, stuff on here and the old pulleys. I also have their optional alternator fan belt, it's been a long day already. Alternator fan that goes on the back of the pulley there, and their pulley to match because it matches the power steering one. And I also have the crank pulley here, which will be going on once I formally torque down my harmonic balancer down there. Let's start over here with the alternator. This basically is exactly how you see it here, what you get with the kit, and that's not the alternator that you get. You don't get an alternator from them, that's from Tough Stuff. That's actually that alternator right there. In case you guys are curious, it's the one wire setup. The alternator bracket and pulley kit consists basically of, you get this bracket here, which conforms, it's the same curvature of the pulley here, so it looks cool. It comes down, it has 3 anchor points, one down here, one up here, one back here that goes into the head. And some of the cons that I see with this setup isn't really a con, it's just more of a, you have to really study their diagrams on these spacers that they include, because every single thing, every single bolt that goes into this water pump or what have you has a spacer involved with it. Get down there and you can see the other spacer. My lighting will straighten out there. So everything has a series of spacers and bolts. They do provide all the hardware you need. You just have to study exactly what the directions tell you to do. You need to make sure that you follow everything to a T, because if you just try to improvise, you'll kind of get yourself stuck and you'll be going backwards. So it mounts at 3 points through the water pump and one into the head, and you need to. I use a little bit of Permatex on my bolts as I was putting them through, just because I'm being really anal now that I had that small water leak. So I got some guys saying excessive use of the RTV and whatnot. It's a thin layer, and everything was torqued to spec. It's not gonna damage anything that way. So that's just my preference on what I did. But you want to make sure you're installing this stuff carefully. And this bracket, what keeps tension on the belt, how you tighten the belt up, is these little, it comes with these turnbuckles down here, and I have one off of the engine. So I'll show you what they come with. And these are all really high quality. These turnbuckles here basically allow in and outward movement of that belt tension. So once I loop my belt around there, I can actually use that turnbuckle to move the alternator in or out a few centimeters here and there to get that belt tight. The water pump pulley is very self-explanatory. It just simply slides over the water pump, and I'm running AC, so I have the 3-groove setup, and I also have the 3-groove crank pulley on mine. The AC bracket made to fit with the power steering pump is definitely a work of art. It's definitely full mirror finish. You can see it there. That big fat billet plate bolts to the head perfectly, and it pretty much covers the entire head, which looks really neat. And then it has this kind of like bridge bracket here that supports the AC compressor. So just to see if I can balance this here with one hand, just to kind of give you a high level overview of how this looks when it's all mounted up. I got the AC compressor here, and it kind of just sits like that. You can kind of see, and of course spacers are involved with that long bolt, but that's kind of in a nutshell how that mounts up. So I'll show you once I get it all set up how it mounts. But that's the AC compressor in a nutshell, and that also uses that turnbuckle that I just showed you. It tethers, I believe, it tethers right here. My finger is underneath this fuel filter right there. So that's the AC bracket. Probably the most challenging bracket to assemble is this power steering bracket. You'll see overhead, this is probably the best way to show you how this power steering, this is the Saginaw style power steering pump, or the GM style, which is a little bit better than the original Ford style, but they have both. But what I did here, you have to, there's this place, if you see this bracket back here, it's just a thin piece of billet, and it has an adjustment slide in between. That bolts to the head back. Shit, you can't even see. You can see my bolt and washer back there. It's a grade 8. That bolts to the head back there, and then it also, with a spacer, each side has a spacer. You'll see the spacer there, right there. It uses a spacer on the bolt and a washer, and then over here it uses a spacer, and that keeps that perfectly aligned. You'll see that's perfectly straight. That's what you want. The front of it is similar to the alternator side. The front of it uses this bracket here, which is really neat, and goes through, and of course uses spacers. These are both equal length spacers here and here. I'll give my little gripe here. This bolt down here goes through one of the water jackets on the head, and I can't stand when you start threading those in there, because those are very critical mounting receptacles. But it's a little bit of a bear to get it threading in, but once you get it in, it's no problem. And it comes with the supplied hardware. That's just kind of one of the design, I guess when you're designing this stuff, you know, you're dependent upon these billet aluminums being pressed against the timing cover and the water pump to keep the seal. So it's just if I could revise the design, I would try, but maybe try to use the bosses that are in the water pump in lieu of, you know, making it dependent upon keeping the water pump attached to the timing cover, if that makes any sense. But nevertheless, it's still a good design once it's all put together. And then of course I got the power steering pulley with the kit. Biggest gripe about this stuff is it's clear coated billet, so any grease on your fingers or sweat or anything like that, it's kind of a pain in the ass to get off of this aluminum. So I'm going to be cleaning here for a while to get these perfect again, but that's just me nitpicking. It finishes really nicely. You'll see the quality there. It looks really good. So that's just kind of my in a nutshell video of these CVF Racing pulleys and brackets. I definitely would recommend them to any builder that's looking to have a serious, you know, show car kind of finish on their 302 or GM engine or whatever. It definitely finishes the front of the engine off, and it matches this Edelbrock intake manifold really nicely. And I also got the same type of billet aluminum polished valve covers also, which make it look really good. So yeah, guys, dogs are starting to go crazy here, but I just figured I'd give you a little overview. And also, just to let you know, when you use their crank pulley and setup, you need to use this spacer. This is, I believe, a .950. Don't quote me on that. Look at their website. But this actually goes on the harmonic balancer first, and then the crank pulley that they supply goes onto this. And what that basically does is it kicks out this crank pulley to match the 3 on this water pump pulley, so everything stays aligned. If you don't run with the spacer, here, I have it assembled on here. Here you go. If you don't run with that spacer, it puts the crank pulley too close to the harmonic balancer, and you lose the last groove, which is gonna be bad. So make sure when you're ordering your stuff from them, you got to get that spacer off of Summit or your local parts house. So that's just to kind of show you. That's what it'll look like there when it's on. So there you go, guys. In a nutshell, if you're thinking about getting the pulleys and brackets set up from CVF Racing, I definitely would say go for it. The reason why I ran with CVF is because their customer service was awesome as soon as I asked them a question. Nate gets back to you right away, which is always a bonus. I lost my instructions. He sent me new instructions. I misplaced one of my spacers. He sent me out a new spacer for free. Not to say he's going to do that for everybody, but their customer service is spot on. I definitely will also say that March Performance makes a really nice set that looks just as good. In my personal opinion, they're just a little pricey. I just didn't want to swing. I couldn't swing that kind of cash for the kit. So you know, you're looking like $100 a piece here for each thing, and you can get like the triple set for like $175 for some pulley. Just look at their website and look at your application, and always make sure that you're, you know, all your rotation on your water pump matters. The side of the radiator hose matters, all that stuff. So just give Nate all your information, and they'll definitely put together a set that'll make your ride look really good. So yeah, guys, CVF Racing, badass. Just time consuming to put everything on and make sure everything looks good, but it's a labor of love. So thanks for watching my video again. If you have any questions, pipe them down below, and I'm gonna throw a link over to CVF's website too, so you can kind of check out what they have. So thanks for watching.